What struck me about the Henry Novak case wasn't actually the murder itself. Now, before anyone jumps down my throat, hear me out. The murder was horrific. An 18-year-old lad with his whole life ahead of him lost that life in circumstances that should never have happened. The man responsible has been convicted and jailed. That part of the story's gone through the courts. But what's really stayed with people isn't just what happened that night, it's everything that came afterwards. The bodycam footage, the public reaction, the protests, the arguments, the anger. And I think the reason this story has resonated so deeply is because it tapped into something that goes far beyond one tragic case. It tapped into a growing crisis of trust. Because if you read the comments, if you speak to people in the pub, if you listen to the callers on the radio, they're all saying the same thing. They're not all from the same background, but they keep asking variations of the same question. Can we still trust the institutions that are supposed to protect us? That's the question sitting underneath all of this. And once that question starts getting asked regularly, you've got a problem. Because every function in society runs on trust. Trust that the police will do their job fairly. Trust that the courts will apply the law fairly. Trust that governments will act in the public interest. Trust that when something goes badly wrong, somebody will be held accountable. You don't have to think those institutions are perfect. Nobody does. But you do need a critical mass of people to believe they're fundamentally fair. And that's where I think we're getting into dangerous territory. Because what I've noticed over the last few years is that more and more people seem to be losing that confidence. Not just over this case, over all sorts of things. And when that confidence goes, people start looking for answers elsewhere. Sometimes those answers are sensible, sometimes they're not. But either way, the trust's already been damaged. Now let's be clear, anger doesn't automatically make something right. A crowd can be wrong, social media can be wrong, public opinion can be wrong. But equally, when large numbers of people are all expressing the same concerns, it might be worth asking why. Because here's the thing, most people don't spend their evenings reading legislation or studying police procedures. They judge institutions by what they see. And what they saw in this case disturbed a lot of people. Whether the ongoing investigations eventually justify every decision or criticise some of them, the public reaction has already happened. That genie's already out the bottle. Then we had the protests. Some of those protests turned ugly. Some people have already gone through the courts and received significant prison sentences. And immediately, another debate starts. Not about whether violence is acceptable. Most people agree it isn't. The debate became about consistency. About whether justice appears to move faster in some situations than others. And whether similar cases are treated similarly. Now, I can already hear people shouting at the screens. Different cases have different facts, different evidence, different legal procedures. That's all true. But once again, perceptions matter. Because if enough people start believing there are different standards for different groups, trust erodes further. That's the pattern I keep coming back to. Trust. It always comes back to trust. And maybe that's why this story has had such a long tail. Because it arrived at a moment when confidence in institutions was already under pressure. Confidence in politics, confidence in policing, confidence in the justice system, confidence in the media. The Henry Novak case didn't create those concerns. It collided with them. And that's why the reaction's been so intense. Now here's the uncomfortable part. Governments can pass laws. Police can issue statements. Courts can hand down sentences. But rebuilding trust is much harder. Because trust isn't something you demand. It's something you earn. Slowly, consistently, over time. Through transparency, through accountability. Through people feeling that the rules apply equally to everyone. And once people stop believing that, fixing it becomes incredibly difficult. Which brings me to the question I've been thinking about ever since this story exploded. What happens when more and more people stop believing the system works for them? Because that's not a question about one case. That's a question about the future of the country. It's a question about social cohesion. It's a question about whether people continue to buy into the institutions that hold society together. And before anyone accuses me of being dramatic, just look around. Across Europe, across America, across Britain, trust is falling almost everywhere. Institutions that once commanded respect are now viewed with suspicion by millions of people. And whether you think that's justified or not, it's happening. So maybe the Henry Novak case isn't ultimately about one murder, one police force, one investigation or one protest. Maybe it's become a symbol of something much bigger. A warning light on the dashboard. A sign that large numbers of people no longer feel reassured when they're told everything's working as it should. And if that's true, then the biggest challenge facing this country isn't policing, politics, or even crime. It's rebuilding trust. Because without trust, everything else becomes a fight. And that's not a road society should want to travel too far down. So that's the question I want to leave with you. Is the real story here the case itself? Or is it what the public reaction to the case tells us about the state of Britain today? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more news, views and uncomfortable truths.